Good afternoon and welcome to the January meeting of Residents Council. Good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to the January meeting of Residents Council. This is our first one of trying it in the Great Room, and then we have Prima Club Room is set up as a viewing area, and Ted McCormick is in there as a resident to help text any questions to us. We also have the club host, but as of this moment, Don and Elsa Falls, who were going to text questions, are the only two there. So we may be killing that site, at least for this meeting, we may be killing that site. Thank you all for coming. As I say, this is a new experience for all of us. If you would take just a minute and shut off any and all of your electronic devices, it would be appreciated. Then if I could ask Nancy Miller to come forward and give us an invocation. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Right here.
Okay. Here it is, the new year, and I have some gentle goals suggested for this year. Watch more sunsets, share smiles with strangers, discover a new favorite song, say yes to adventures whenever possible, try a new recipe, read good books, say what you mean, and treat yourself with respect and affection. Hydrate. Listen with interest and compassion. Allow gratitude to change you. Spend time in nature. Love hard. Dream wildly. Wring every drop of goodness from every day. Live deeply, courageously, and honestly. Be open to wonder and light. Let us pray. Dear Lord, as the new year begins, we look to you for our hope, our joy, and peace. Give us the courage to do all that you ask. Please make us brave to not do what isn't from you, and show us how to walk in grace and to embrace your love for us even more. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Nancy. If I could ask Ms. Amy Chapman to come and fill our heads with all kinds of good information.
This is also official. It feels like a press conference. I will share with you that I have a 25-year-old that many of you know, my daughter. Her favorite show growing up was The West Wing because she wanted to be the press secretary. So this looks all very familiar from all of those TV shows, but my announcements aren't anywhere that official, I promise you. So our occupancy as of today is 89%. With 93% of our apartments in independent living occupied and reserved. Our assisted living accommodations are all spoken for. So we do have 2 respite rooms that are available for people who are in between moving to different levels of care. But as of the end of this month, every one of our apartments in assisted living will be filled. And I'm thinking now we probably should have built a few more. Our healthcare apartments, we have 5 that are open right now. We've seen an influx of temporary stays from residents in independent living over the last few weeks, but most of them are on their road to recovery and will be returning to their independent living apartments pretty soon. Team member turnover rate, our 90-day turnover rate dropped to 7%. That is a 3% improvement from November, which is amazing. Right now we have, I want to say, 4 full-time positions available, which when you look at our total number, we have 365 team members total. That's a pretty good place to be, so much different than where we were during the COVID outbreak. Speaking of COVID, we have only 1 resident in independent living and 1 resident in healthcare with COVID right now, and 1 team member. So we have seen great improvements with COVID. What we are seeing are more people with the flu and sinus infections and other kind of respiratory infections. So please continue to wash your hands and wear masks if you're with people who are coughing and sneezing. Our monthly financial overview. Our income did not meet our budget for the month of December due to the number of open apartments in independent living and the cottages and apartments that are in the midst of turnover. But for a 7th month in a row, we have come in under expenses. So financially, we're in a good place for another month. Very proud of what the team has done to watch expenses, knowing that we're in the process of so many turnovers with vacant apartments and cottages. Construction is underway in the gathering place as well as the fellowship hall. Although we're only in the demolition phase of the fellowship hall, I did get a sneak peek and it already is looking better. Just taking down those heavy window treatments and letting in the natural light has made an unbelievable improvement. They are in the process of putting wood around the outside windows so that no one can peek and see our progress, because we want to have a wonderful reveal once that phase of the construction is over, and I think it's going to be really exciting. Thank you to the residents who have served on the Fresh Eyes Committee, who has helped with selections, and we'll keep everybody posted with communications on updates of the construction project once a week on Fridays on Channel 974, as well as we're posting something on the bulletin board. Stoplight update. About 2 weeks ago, Frank Miller and I met with the Director of Public Works for the County of Henrico to get an update on the proposed stoplight that will be at the entrance of the community. We were assured that the project is still on the county's priority list, with the preliminary wiring and foundation work to happen as early as February. The project is scheduled to be completed by late spring, and we will continue to have conversations with the county to make sure they don't forget their promise to us. So much so that the person who we met with, who is the Director of Public Works, is having lunch with us the first week of February in our dining room. So we're going to keep him close by and continue our connections with him. We have started the beginning of our budget process. The department directors and I will put together our plans to move forward for the new budget, which will start June 1st. Our leadership team will be meeting with your committees to gather information about ongoing expenses through our operating budget as well as capital projects. If you have a suggestion for the budget, please work through your council committees to get that information. And we'll make sure that before we submit anything, that we make sure we'll hear from everybody who has something to say about moving forward with the budget. And just one final announcement is about a reminder, especially in cold weather. There's always a member of our maintenance team here on weekends and available after hours in case of emergencies. So if you have a situation that needs to be addressed after hours or on weekends, please don't wait until Monday. Call the concierge and she will get in touch with the person who is on call if they're not in the building, or if they are in the building because they're scheduled to be here, we'll make sure that they get over and see if they could address your situation. The handbook, I believe, dictates exactly what it is an emergency. So know that we're not going to come over because you have a drippy faucet. But if there's something that's truly emergency, like no heat or air conditioning in the summer, we want to make sure that we address that as soon as possible. After hours, when the concierge isn't here, you can call the concierge desk. It will be transferred to the security officer, and they will call or contact the person on call so that they know of the situation that you're in. Any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned the traffic light would be completed by spring, but is that the traffic light only and not the entire Three Chop Road widening?
That is absolutely correct. We have been told that we're not quite sure what the schedule of the street widening is going to be. It could be a good amount of time. My guess it could be over the next 12 to 24 months, but they have assured us that we're not going to have to wait for the widening. They'll make adjustments to that street light once the widening happens, just because they understand how important it is to slow people down coming down that hill and allow us a safer way to exit and enter the community. Yes, ma'am, and I'll repeat the question.
Well, Frank's got them.
Oh, okay.
Who raised their hand?
Eventually, will the exit lane from Cedar Field be widened to easily hold 2 cars side by side going left and right? It's a little tight right now.
You know, we have not looked at that, but that is definitely something that we could look at. That's making sure that the exit lane from Cedar Field, left and right, is a little bit wider so that it could accommodate people more safely. Anything else? Okay, thank you all.
And we do have a resident, Ted McCormick, is in the Prima Club room. So if someone there has a question, he'll be able to text either me or Mary Ann Bagby. And as I say a little while ago, we didn't have anybody at the clubhouse, so that may not happen there. Thank you, Amy. I had asked 2 of the people who will be elected next month, Sherilyn Heatwell and Joy Nevin, to be with us to give a 1-minute or less introduction of themselves. I'm not seeing Joy here, but Sherilyn is here. Sherilyn has been nominated to be president-elect, which means on March 1, assuming she gets elected at next month's meeting, on March 1, she will become president-elect when Frank becomes president and I become dead man walking. Sherilyn, please come on up.
First of all, I want to thank this group for believing that I have the skills and the ability to lead a group of leaders. One of the nice things about this job is this is a community full of successful people who've had important jobs in the past and who have wonderful ideas for the future. I'm a retired nursing instructor, and I tell everybody at the end of the semester when you get those anonymous evaluations, you develop a pretty thick skin for what students may have to say about you. And even in the worst evaluation, you better look at it and say, is there something in there that tells me there's something about myself I need to change? I think the most important thing here is this is the Residents' Council. I look forward to working with you. I look forward to helping Frank this year in any way that I can and in educating myself. This is going to be a learning curve for me to learn more about you and what you need and want, more about the Cedar Field team, more about the Pinnacle team. We want to continue to have Cedar Field as a premier community in not just Richmond, but Virginia, and a place where all of us are happy to live.
Thank you, Sherilyn. And now we're going to pull down the shades because there has been a request to cut some of the sunlight. So we hope that is better for those who are viewing instead of being here in person. Thank you, Sherilyn. And elections will be next month. We will vote on President-elect Sherilyn Heatwell. Frank automatically moves into becoming president. She will get elected. And I have assured her once she has been nominated and has said yes, she will be elected. We also have to elect Beth Long to be secretary. We elected her last year as president-elect, but the bylaws say we have to elect her. And technically, the name of the position is still secretary-treasurer, but in the proposed bylaws, we'll talk about eliminating part of that thing. And then Joy Nevin has been nominated to be the assistant secretary-treasurer, and again, dropping the treasurer part of the job as basically non-existent. Denise Pacula, will you give us an update, please, on the shop at 2300?
Hello, everybody. I want to thank everyone who supported the shop at 2300 during the recent holiday season. While we don't have anything to compare it to since we only opened in April of 23, I know we set a record. I'm proud to announce that for the first half of our fiscal year, June through December, the shop had a profit of over $7,600. That's after all our expenses. And we couldn't have done it without you, the shoppers, our volunteers who run the shop, and those who help with the advertising. Thank you so much. Now, socks. We have socks. We just received a huge shipment of our new socks, and they are beautiful. Come check them out, and fun. We also have new flavors of our Stonewall Kitchen jellies and jams, and also we branched out a little, and this is not in my report, I'm sorry, I just thought of it, but we have got cake mixes, like you can easily make cornbread, and we have gluten-free cornbread too if you need that, and we have a cinnamon shortbread that's also easy to make. I got the coffee cake mix. It was a little more complicated, but it was delicious. So that's down there too. And don't forget, if it's too cold or rainy to go out to the grocery store, we have milk, juice, bread, and bananas and all kinds of things, all in the warm, dry comfort of the shop at 2300. Valentine's Day is fast approaching. We have candies, small gifts, and favors for your favorite Valentine or Galentine. You all know what that is, a Galentine? That's if you have a favorite girlfriend, a gal, you can give that person a gift as well. Or if it's conversation and camaraderie you're looking for, we have that too. And we get a lot of people who'll just come down and sit and talk and visit. So thank you again to everyone who keeps our shop going. We're excited and very proud. Thank you.
An unpaid announcement, but I went flying in 2 different times this fall. One time I needed a birthday present quickly. They didn't have exactly what I wanted for, but my personal shopper du jour, Denise Pacula, immediately made it happen, all wrapped up, and out the door I went. Then just before Christmas, I said, "Oh, look what I need." And she said, "And would you like it wrapped?" I said, "Yes." And in 15 minutes, I was out the door with about 7 gifts already wrapped and on the way for delivery. So it's a wonderful place to shop, and I'm delighted to hear you all are beginning to make some money. My bills monthly show it that you all are doing a good job. Charlotte, would you share with us something from VACRA?
Good afternoon. We're pleased to report that our membership is growing. Some of you probably heard last Friday that our membership now stands at 200. Wow is right. But wouldn't it be nice if maybe we went to 210? Want to do that? Well, we've got a strong organization thanks to all the members, and we're doing a lot of different things, and we try to report to you regularly. One thing I want to point out to you in our newsletter, and if you're not a member and you don't have a newsletter, if you would like one, speak to your neighbor or someone you know that's a member.
I have plenty.
Sally has plenty of newsletters. And with that, I want to point out to you an article in this newsletter that Sally wrote. Cedarfield Membership Growth. the best practices model. It's a wonderful article with some pictures you might be interested in. We had our first VACRA meeting here in this room last Friday. Great presentation on fraud and scams, and we had about 40 people here. Our next VACRA meeting will also, of course, be in this room, and that'll be February the 16th. On February the 22nd, we are hosting a coffee for new residents to introduce them to VACRA, so maybe we'll get to 210. We're going to answer their questions, have some coffee and something sweet to eat, and just have a good conversation with them, getting to know them and each other. Back to the winter newsletter, there is an interesting article you might be interested in. Martha Cole Glenn wrote, Getting to Know Your Elected Officials. And there is a way for you to contact your elected officials, and it's all printed out right here for you. We were part of a resident group to have dinner with the Pinnacle Board last week, and I was so impressed with us. Well, with them too, but really with us, because we made a good impression. And we're hoping that that good impression will lead to more conversations like that, don't you? To more conversations. It's baby steps. We understand it's baby steps. And we're hoping that those baby steps will lead us to the direction we want to go. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Who was the guest speaker in February?
In February, the guest speaker is Florence Brooks, who will talk about the wellness program. I'm not sure what area she'll talk about, but overall it's a wellness program. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Robbie?
Do you have any applications?
I certainly do. Who wants one? I do have them, have plenty of them. Yes. And let me just say this. One reason we're able to say we got 200 members is because of the renewals. Thanks to Dolly and Sally's group, who are always after renewals. We're all pleased, very pleased, with what we've accomplished with the membership. Okay, talk to your neighbor, look at the newsletter. Thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte. The committee reports will be next. The full minutes of the committees will be attached to your minutes from Residents' Council. So committee chairs are asked to give the highlights of the most significant things in their committees. With that, I will ask Chuck Bingley, who is representing the Communications Committee. Vivian McCoskey could not be here today. Thank you, Chuck.
Please stop me if I run over 15 minutes. We meet monthly, and
Chuck, if you could speak right into the mic, it might be easier to hold.
there we go. Now,
Okay.
I'm trying to read this too. Okay. Frank Miller, our president-elect, has asked Carol Newman to be our next chair, succeeding Vivian, who has other commitments pressing on her. And she's graciously accepted. The committee's reviewed sample maps of the Big House town center, and health services. So, good progress on this project, and many thanks to Phyllis Katz and the subcommittee, as well as Jack Johnson in maintenance and engineering. When completed, we expect copies to be in the residence handbook, on the Cedarfield app, and available from the concierge. Amy Chapman also said that there were plans for wayfinding signage on the outside of the building as well, which we dearly need. The incoming chair and council president will be involved in the review of the residence handbook. So if any resident wishes to comment on that, please get in touch with Carol Newman or Frank Miller. And December and January meeting minutes will be attached. Any questions?
Frank?
I keep bemoaning this, but the the escape maps that are posted around the building at the elevators, many of them are out of date. I know there's one missing on the second floor by the elevator when that hallway got redone. It never got replaced. The one upstairs on the fourth floor that's as you go down the hall of the dining room still has the map of the old dining room on it. So I'm not sure what the rule is about fire exit maps.
That's really not part of our charge on the committee. That should be maintenance and engineering, I would imagine.
If you notice things like that, Sherilyn, please put a work order into the facilities and maintenance. You can do that online, and that would be helpful. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Might I ask for a motion to approve the minutes of the December meeting that was held?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? All in favor? Who are voting members of council, and those would be the committee chairs, the officers, and area reps, please say aye. Aye. They were unanimously approved. Thank you. Ravi, would you please come give a report on the dining committee? Thank you.
Can you hear me? Hello and Happy New Year. This is nice, small room, rather than the huge. Dining committee. As always, we start with staffing, and staffing is in pretty good shape in dining. There's a couple of positions open, like Lakeisha.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
like ice cream cone, like an ice cream cone.
I might lick it. Lakeisha, who moved from dining to, she's assisted living dining supervisor now. She got promoted, so there's a job opening there. And there's also opening for a staff position. It has been tight. You might notice that people might missing. That's because of COVID. Different people have been getting COVID, and they've had to shuffle others to take their place. There was a question raised about increasing the allowance for preferred choice residents. By the way, Anne checked in. Preferred choice residents is about 10% of the whole resident population. And the request was for the allowance to be increased, the monthly allowance, and because the prices are going up. Well, we checked with dining, and they don't believe that the prices have gone up.
Oh,
Now they're going to check. Oh,
at the grocery stores
I'm
they
just
have.
telling you what. So they're going to do an audit and check that. The guest prices have gone up, but that's what they're saying.
The
Okay.
menu prices have not gone up according to what they have shared with me in the last 5 years.
Okay, that's what. So they are going to audit it, and Neil is talking about having available a list with the price of all the items. It'll be in one place. It will not be mailed to everyone, which is kind of impractical, but it will be in one place. I don't know, library, somewhere there.
Microphone.
Okay. I gotta lick it. There's a dining retreat coming up soon. I think it's tomorrow. And there will be a number of things discussed there. This is tough to keep this and. Okay.
Anne, why don't you hold it so he has...
No, I'm fine. So there'll be a number of things discussed. Rotation of weekly specials, review of menu content, present and future destination dining. In summary, the whole objective of this is to improve the dining experience for residents. Clubhouse renovation, Amy has the proposal, and it'll be presented in March to the capital budget, for the capital budget. Cocktail lounge, a questionnaire went out yesterday. Hope all of you have it, and please do respond to it. Neil has found paper cups that are the same price as the styrofoam, which has been elusive. So that was great news. It's like a singer.
That's right. Yeah.
Sometimes you wonder, you got to get a lot of spit on it. Oh, yeah. So, anyway, that's good news. He's been able to find the paper cups that are biodegradable. So they will be replaced in all the places. Now, particularly in the cafe, they're going to be smaller cups. And the hope is to encourage everyone to bring their own mugs or travel mugs and to get coffee. Yes, thank you. Thank you. The other thing that was discussed was accuracy of menus online. I was told that the menus are not the same online as they are when they're served. So Neil is aware of this, and they're going to make some changes. Some of these things seem very simple. Say, oh yeah, all you have to do is change the slides. Well, there's a lot of pieces there. There's a lot of gears that have to fit in together. And as you found in most things, it's not just that simple to just, that it has to, that the computer is involved, and you need to make sure that it's on all of the screens and all the menus and so on. So they are going to work on it. And the problem has been compounded because of some staff absences. So that's about all I have. And yes.
I'll speak up. I need
Yeah.
the mic.
Here comes the microphone.
Thank you.
I believe that we don't have a nutritionist that deals with the food in the restaurants or takeouts or even the atrium. And y'all may not share this opinion, but I think much too much salt is used in the food. And also, I don't believe, in my own eyes, there's enough offered to people who are trying to eat healthily. There are not enough choices in vegetables. There's too much fried food. And so I think for me, I think I'm hearing some agreement that we really need to work on that, because our goal is to keep everybody healthy and out of the expensive assisted living and health care. And one way to do it is to eat well.
I'd like to know why there is such a discrepancy in prices between the cafe atrium and the main dining room. For example, a hamburger downstairs in the cafe is about $3.50. Upstairs in the main dining room, it's closer to $8. Why is that?
We pointed that out.
That's easy.
We pointed that out to Neil, and he is aware of that. And they are going to correct that.
No. Can I have that a minute?
Yeah.
Frank, hand it.
Amy, you want to try that?
Okay, let me just say something quick. When you go to the dining room, you have a wait staff person who comes to your table, takes your order, brings you whatever you want. You have tablecloth, you have silverware at the table, you have flowers, you have all these things cost money, and that's part of the difference between what you get charged in the atrium and what is charged in the dining room. In the atrium, they do bring you your food, but you clean up after yourself. And a lot of it is you go up and stand in line to order. So it all kind of adds up, right?
That's true, but there still is a little bit of a discrepancy.
Okay.
And Neil is aware of that.
Okay.
He's going to work on that.
Two things. In my area, several people have asked if the dining committee, if the dining services would take another look at the idea of having the showcase available for takeout. I know that there are lots of challenges involved with that, but several of the residents on my hall have asked to have that revisited. That's number one. Number two, I'm still asking the question, when will we be able to do takeout online? And what is the holdup? And is it being worked on?
It is being worked on. It's the system, full count, has to be set up to do that. And there are issues there, because if you want something with a certain kind of dressing, or there's all kinds of things that have been built into this. And there's a lot of, the menu items are a lot. So it's not that simple, and they are working on it.
Just want to know it's being worked on.
Yes.
As far,
Gotta stop putting your finger on the
okay,
button.
okay,
Cut it off again.
oh, it's on.
By the way, this salt,
I'm just gonna
that's
show
been
you.
discussed many
Okay.
times.
Ready?
And
I just brought it up because I'm the area rep and it's my job to advance those.
right, and the healthy food and all of this has been brought up. It used to be, David Stewart used to say, we get healthy things, true or not, okay? He said that. And everybody wants fried chicken. So that's what he used to say.
Where's your microphone?
Battery's dead.
I can
I'll
I
speak
can
up.
bring this.
They won't,
Oh, okay. I guess my question is in relation to a nutritionist. Now when you go to a lot of restaurants, they have, unfortunately, the calories next to the item on the menu. And so if you're eating it, you go, oh my God, that's 1,000 calories, and it's got 790 milligrams of sodium in it. Perhaps having something like that on the menu would help just to let people know this is high in fat or this is high in calories.
Robbie.
Again, we had brought this up, and I'll bring it up again with Neil.
It is important to note that the dining committee does not deal with pork chops and peas. It deals with policies and procedures. If you have comments on the food and so forth, comment cards are available, emails are available. That's the best place to voice your concerns about food. With respect to calorie counts, if I want a small portion of XYZ, it's going to be a very different calorie count from a regular sized portion of XYZ. Basic thing to know there is, if it tastes good, it's probably high in fat and salt and sugar. Anyway, anything else? Any other questions for Robbie? Robbie, thank you. Susan Hutchison, facilities. And I do think it's probably easiest to hold it.
Do you think? I will give it my best shot. Okay, here we go. The Residence Facility Committee, are you hearing me? Yeah. Okay, met on Tuesday, December 12th. Lacey Salamone, former Director of Maintenance and Engineering, reviewed the facility projects completed.
Put it right at your mouth like a microphone.
Completed, there we are. Okay, completed since our last meeting in September. During December, 8 apartments and cottages were being renovated, with new residents scheduled to move in January and February. 15 renovations were completed in October and November. The atrium kitchen air conditioning was completed. The Parkway lamp post was installed. And finally for D-wingers, they got their brass door knockers and brass numbers. Hallelujah. Okay. Pending projects inside the D include the D-wing generator, which, as you all know, if you park in the resident parking lots, is well underway. The director was working with Henrico County to get approval for the housing for the generator, and also to resolve some issues with electrical conduit clearance. A site-wide consolidation of all computerized automated doors. Excuse me. We're having the same problem. For automation of all of the doors, not all of the doors, but doors here in assisted living and in independent and healthcare areas is underway. The schedule for automating the foyer elevator door in D-Wing and the CD door, which many have asked to have done, is still pending. The administration and corporate office are working to determine how to charge residents for the electric vehicles. This will include owners who are currently charging their vehicles in their cottage garages. The goal is to have initial charging stations installed and ready. They will be located next to the generator, and this should all be completed in March of this year. A budget request to correct the water issue on the lane will be submitted for fiscal year 2025, pending contractor estimates to correct the problem. The temporary solution for the assisted living showers appears to be working. The job is under warranty, and a permanent solution is being evaluated by the architect and the producer of the shower stalls. Estimates to power wash the cottage posts and mailboxes has been obtained and will be submitted to the business office for approval. The cost is estimated to be $25,000 to do this job for the 85 mailboxes and posts. I know. We could all go out and do a little painting one day.
It includes straightening them up.
And straighten them up too. Some are leaning this way and that way. Construction documents and design work are in progress to repair the front surface of the main building and replace older windows throughout the facility. This will be a four-year project, with the first phase being replacement of the outer surface of the front building. It's referred to as the EFIS system, EFIS, which stands for Exterior Insulation and Finish System. It's very similar in some respects in appearance to stucco, but it's a smoother surface. Preventive maintenance work orders may be submitted for routine work, including replacement of your air handling filters, dryer vent cleaning in cottages, and gas fireplace checkups. Maintenance is currently working on a better system for preventive maintenance of both apartments and cottages. Frank Miller noted that one of the Henrico County fire hydrants is currently not working and needs to be repaired to meet established standards. This is a continuing concern for cottage residents living near the hydrant. The chair, me, announced at the end of the meeting that I would be retiring from the chairmanship of the facility committee and also from the committee. It's time for new folks to take on the job. So thank you very much. It's been a pleasure.
Questions?
Are there any questions?
Okay, thank you.
That was kind of very difficult. We need a different system.
We need extra hands for those of us up here.
That's true.
So any octopi are invited to apply. Library Committee, Sally Wood. You can either put it here, or you can leave it to talk to it, whichever way.
This is a petri dish for everything that's going around here. I recommend
Some alcohol swabs to wipe them off.
between every person. And also when you go home, wash your hands and gargle with bourbon water. Well, the library committee is doing very well, aiming towards getting out of the library in the middle of February to the end of March, a month's time. There's a possibility there's going to be a delay in this. But I'm going to tell you to read my report because they'll tell you where you can find everything. We will do several things to keep you in magazines and newspapers and books. there is an atrium area off the fourth floor near room 400. It's the little area with the sofa and chairs where people, someone decorated it so well during Christmas, it was beautiful. And we will have newspapers, and we will have puzzles, and we will have magazines in that area. And then as to the, I said newspapers, I'm sorry, we'll have books, we will have magazines, and we'll have puzzles in that area. As to the newspapers, we will have them on a ledge outside the door on the atrium floor where the coordinator of volunteerism is. And so it'll speak for itself. We encourage you to be real good about returning things like newspapers and magazines. The books will be paperbacks, and you know it'll be the normal system. It's just take them and return them when you can. And one special project we've done to really get our library in order is the balcony library. And Ted McCormick's in charge of that. And he had Charlie Bryan, Roger Dowdy, Dan Balford, Jan Steele, and Louisa Rucker help with culling those books. The same goal that we had downstairs with histories and biographies, that we want a more definitive library, and especially in the balcony where, frankly, there's never been a book that they bought for the balcony. It's always been books that were discarded, sent up to the attic, you know, except Stepchild. Well, it's no Stepchild, not with this list of characters working with it, Charlie Bryan being one of them, which is like killing a gnat with a machine gun, the talent that he brings to this. So read this carefully and then ask us any questions. We should know in the next couple of days whether this is a cancellation on our being approached first thing in February for 1 month's time, which would be great. And we've worked real hard thus far to be ready, but we'll be ready anytime they want us to be. Questions? Sally, you're Max. Thank you, Sally. Religious life, Nancy Miller. Oh, I think Sally asked if there were any questions, and there weren't. Nancy.
This past year, the Angel Fund received and granted 21 requests for help with various financial crises, totaling $41,897.70. All of the requests for assistance are confidential, and this is a vital benefit that we offer to members of the Cedarfield community. February is the month devoted to raising more funds for the coming needs of the Angel Fund. We hope that you will prayerfully consider donating to this very worthwhile cause. We would like to exceed or at least match last year's donation total of over $30,000. This is a note we received from a recipient who received help. Thank you so very much. Even though you didn't have to do it, you did it anyway, and it was much appreciated. My family and I are very appreciative of all the help and support during these difficult times. We hope that God will bless you all. Once again, thank you all so much for the support. So we really do make a difference in so many lives, and I hope we will be able to continue to do this. Even though our fundraiser is especially in February, anybody can make a donation year-round, simply turning it in to the business office. But during this month, we will have boxes available at the entrance, wherever that is, with the concierge, wherever she moves. The desk will be there that you can make a donation and you can also make it in the business office. These are new brochures which will be distributed to everybody to give you an update on everything. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you, Nancy. And Ray Godman is our new interim chair of safety. Roger Dowdy has retired.
Thank you. As somebody who just recently was in the market for a place to live, all the conversation that we have about food is kind of interesting.
You got to talk right into it.
Because this is by far the best place I saw in my survey. The main thing I want to talk about is the Good Neighbor program. About early last year, we had some conversation about if we should ever have the necessity to evacuate the building. People who are dependent upon devices to help them get around will have a problem because the elevators won't work, and of course you can't go down the steps. The first thing we did was take a look at the building and create a map that shows where all of the direct grade level exits are from, and there is one from every floor. All 4 floors have a direct exit. Some of them are pretty far away. I have copies of that map to anybody who would like to have one. The second thing was developed by Frank and Buzzy we can begin to call it the Good Neighbor program. The idea of the Good Neighbor program was to identify people who could benefit from having some help in the event of an emergency, and to give them a means of identifying themselves. And so we created a sticker which goes in the glass window next to the door in the independent living portion of the building. So far, I've had about a dozen people who asked for and has received that sticker, and that's clearly not covering everybody who could benefit. What I would like to do going forward, when the new resident representatives are identified, to interact with them and about those people who live in their area and who would benefit from being able to ask for help. Specifically, that has to do with people who either use a motorized vehicle or a rollator, and also people with a hearing problem. The alarms go off at night. If you're asleep, you're not going to hear it if you have a hearing problem. And so I think that also is something that we should pay attention to. So if we have a neighbor who has a hearing problem, we have an emergency, we should think to call. And I'm sure there will be other instances of emergencies that we can react to. So those are the things that we're doing going forward. As we get into the new year, I'll be contacting the area representatives and discussing with them the program. So thank you. And
any questions?
Do you have any questions? Good. I'll give it to you.
Excuse me. Let me not hit this.
It's hard to get in that thing. There you go.
That is all the people that had identified themselves as committee chairs that had reports. Are there any other committee reports to come before this august body? There are many, many, many area rep reports that you will see in your minutes. Many of the areas met, and that is a good thing. So feel free to read those. Now we're going to get to some old and new business. old business would be resident on the Pinnacle Board. Last week, there was a dinner with several Cedarfield residents and all of the Pinnacle Board residents, except one who was not able to be with us, for dinner and conversation. As Charlotte said, it was a wonderful gathering. I think all of the residents and board members had situated themselves so they were not right next to the people they knew already, and I think there were good connections made there. This was something that Chris Henderson had suggested might be a good baby step way of having board members get to know some residents and residents get to know board members, so that we would realize we really are wonderful people on both sides. As Charlotte said, we can dress up and go out and behave ourselves. So we had a good time and good conversation on both sides. Pinnacle Board has been more transparent with us this past year. I reported that in the fall, I, as one of the 4 presidents of Residents Council, went to the Audit and Finance Committee. Then the Finance Committee of Cedarfield heard from Pinnacle on the base outline of their strategic plan. Chris Henderson came here last week and had a very well-attended session, and I think answered some questions there. And then the dinner was the next step in that process. Having a resident on the board continues to be a goal of both Residents Council and VACRA, and I'm sure that Frank will continue to work with that once he takes over. Any questions on Pinnacle Board? Sharp, I brought them.
Who were the residents?
Wait for the mic if you would.
Who were the residents who were invited to this dinner?
The residents invited, and I'll try to remember them all. Charlotte and I had made a list, I think it was last September, and we submitted it to Chris. We didn't know how many to suggest, so we suggested 8. So it included me, Frank Miller, Charlotte, Bob Staples, Paul Springman, Carol Marco. Jan Steele was on the list, but she was not able to attend.
My husband.
Yes, and Milt Cerny. Thank you all for help. Those were the 8 people. So we tried to get a mixture of male, female, older residents, newer residents, cottage people, apartment people. And as I say, we all sat separate from each other, so I was seated next to the president of the Pinnacle Board, and good discussion with her, and different people reported very good discussion. So that's how the group, and when this dinner was getting ready to happen, and it's close to the end of my term, I volunteered, don't include me, because I'm getting ready to be a has-been, and Chris said, no, you will stay on the list. But anyway, that's how the list got put together last, I think it was September when we submitted that list to him. Any other questions on that one? Next on the list is the proposed disbursement of 23-24 funds. Residents Council annually gets $500 from the administration, and historically we have divvied it up as follows. The Flower Guild, $175. The Library Committee, $175, and VACRA dues, $150. I would recommend, and I guess move, that we continue that disbursement. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll give a note to David Taylor. Thank you. And last but certainly not least are highlights of some of the proposed changes that will be coming to the bylaws. The bylaws will be presented to Residents Council next month for adoption. Once they are adopted by Residents Council, they then need to go to all members of the Residents Association, which is all 520 of us who live at Cedarfield. So I'm giving you kind of this highlight. Soon after this meeting, I hope that we will have an edited set, and by that I mean showing the strikeout of what's taken out and new words or numbers being inserted. But I'm going to give you kind of an overview today of some of those that might be more specific. I'm not giving you editorial things like insert of instead of on. I will say the committee has done a great job. Sally Bingley, Don Branson, Elizabeth Hawa, and Pete Hutchison all agreed easily last fall that they would serve on this bylaws committee. Each one of the 4 said, but I'm not going to chair it. So then I got to do a job of let's see whose arm I can twist. And fortunately, Elizabeth has a nice soft arm, and she said she would do it. Then Elizabeth decided they were going to move, so that took a little bit of energy out of it in the middle of the year. Article 3 in the bylaws talks about membership of the Residents Association. Section 3 relates to special meetings and says currently that they may be called by the president either with the approval of council or upon request of at least 25% of the members of the association. The proposed wording changes that to 50 members. 25% of 520 is 130 members, and the committee felt that getting 50 people to agree to a special meeting of the association would be easier to attain than 130. Section 5 of that same article deals with a quorum for any meeting of the association, and again changes the requirement from 25% to 50 members. Anybody have something they'd like to say about that proposed change? Article 5 is entitled Officers. The title of 2 officers is proposed to change: Secretary-Treasurer and Assistant Secretary-Treasurer. They are proposed to become Secretary and Assistant Secretary. The Treasurer duties are basically non-existent, so we thought it would be, the committee thought it would be better to change the title to more accurately reflect the job. Any discussion, questions? Sherilyn, wait for the mic. Frank?
You see the hand, sorry.
Sherilyn?
I haven't lived here but 3.5 years. Was there ever a time when that money was used to support programs or outside speakers or persons to come to present a program that we paid for the members of the Residents Council? Have we ever spent it on ourselves?
In the 3.5 years that I have lived here, we have not done that. Anybody who's lived here longer know of such an event? And I'm sure if we desperately wanted a speaker that was going to charge us something, we could always make that request to the executive director and either have it approved or not.
I guess this question is, if we delete the treasurer position, does that delete the $500?
It does not. Article 6 deals with area reps. At an earlier meeting this year, Residents Council voted to increase the number of area reps from 21 to 22, which took into account the 25 additional assisted living apartments that came available. In doing that, we have left health care with no representation, and by law, those residents must be represented. Jan Leeton, who is president of the Garden Grove or Assisted Living Residents Council, said with 67 apartments, she just can't do more than that. And so 2 changes are improved. One is to increase the number of area reps to 23, and then the second change will describe how those residents will be represented. Residents of Area 23 will work through the social worker to organize and be given opportunities to voice concerns that arise with Cedarfield. So have the social worker work with the residents of healthcare to be able to voice any concerns and bring those forward. Any questions or comments on that? Article 7 describes committees. A sentence would be added to the brief opening discretion. Generally, committee chairs shall serve no more than 2 or 3 years unless a certain qualification is needed. And the intent with this is that it doesn't become Susan's facilities committee. So it doesn't become identified with an individual, but rather leaves room for growth, for new people to take on those leadership roles. So that's one proposed change. Or the guild. We don't want the guild to become the domain of just anyone. But the Flower Guild has been chaired by the most creative resident at Cedarfield. Her name would be Louisa Rucker. She also happens to have a florist license. So deciding instead that Denise Pakula should be chair of the Flower Guild would put a considerable change. So that's a special consideration that needs to go with the chair of the Flower Guild. Health Services, for example, usually has someone with a health background, physician, nurse, something of that nature. Having a non-health person as chair of that committee would be difficult. And the Finance Committee needs someone who thoroughly understands nonprofit accounting. For example, the documents need to be adjusted from nonprofit way of looking at things so that those of us more accustomed to looking at profit-based would understand them. And even then, when you get through everything, you say, oh, wow, look at the profit. Oh, but we didn't take out the bond payments. So it needs to be somebody who has thorough understanding of nonprofit accounting, preferably with a CPA. The looser requirement of 2 to 3 years, some committees need a little longer to get a need that third year to get a person ready to be able to take on the leadership of that committee. So that's why that's. Any questions on any of this proposed change of having generally 2 or 3 years for a chair? The description of several of the committees has been changed generally by the committee itself. One change had been proposed for the dining committee to have a subcommittee on food and service. Well, the dining committee didn't like that, so that's been removed from the proposed changes. The environmental committee will now assume the responsibilities of what had been a subcommittee on recycling. Thanks to Irene Caperton and her tribe of hardworking volunteers, they've done a good job, but feel like they have brought that to a point where it doesn't need to be a subcommittee anymore, and the environmental committee can look over it. Health Services Committee description includes the names that we all love so well. This is taking out the old names and putting in the new. The Health Services, which shall represent all persons when in health care, Poppy Place, Magnolia Meadow, and Lavender Lane, and assisted living, Garden Grove, and Morning Glory. So it just takes out the old names and puts the new names in. Questions about those changes on any of the committees? Article 7 further states that the president shall be an ex officio member of all committees except the nominating committee, and the proposal would add the president-elect also as ex officio. Mike Greenwood used me in that role when I was president-elect, and I have used Frank in that role. One, it's good training. So Charlene, get ready for going to a few meetings. It's good training, but it also helps to share the workload, because when there are 13 committees, it takes a little bit of time. Any questions about that? And Article 9 deals with the revisions to the bylaws. The current description precludes any current member of Residence Council from serving on such a committee. It is proposed that the membership increase from 4 to 5 members to have the nominating committee and to include an officer of Residence Council, but continuing that none of the other 4 members can be active members of Residence Council. That's so to give somebody who's got some knowledge of how Residence Council works to be on the nominating committee. Questions about that? So these are the main changes, and next month you will have received in plenty of time the edited version. You will have discussed it with your residents in your areas. You will come prepared to vote. You will be voting on the bylaws and the proposed changes. You'll be voting on the president-elect, secretary, and secretary-elect. You will be voting on all new committee chairs who will be going in. So I hope that all area reps and all current committee chairs will be able to be here and in this room for voting. Are there any further questions or business to come before this august body? Do I hear a move that we adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Second. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Hear, hear. Thank you.